2017 will go down in the annals of South African conservation history as the moment when a giant awakened. When 5 Zulu chiefs, Amakosi, agreed to donate and thereby unlock some 16,000 hectares of largely untouched African bushveld for the development of a new ecotourism industry in South Africa, in the heart of Zululand within the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Its conceptualization is built on the belief that the existing historic game reserve, Hluhluwe Umfolozi Park, can be substantially enlarged by fusing this traditional land with this park, and in doing so, help establish new wildlife corridors that will ultimately see this preliminary 16,000 hectares balloon into some 60,000 hectares, as more and more chiefs express their willingness to participate. Its appeal is as exciting as it is real. Already 2 local tourism operations, Nottens and the Mantis Collection, have signed respective agreements to operate 2 5-star lodges to be built within select areas of this pristine, unexplored landscape. The significance of this growing momentum can't be overstated.
This is an ancient landscape, arguably the most important conservation landscape on the African continent. The DNA of every white rhino that we have now in Africa comes from the confluence of the white and the black Umfolozi, comes from the very land that we are talking about now expanding again. And that is what excites me. This iconic conservation land now has another opportunity through expansion and through its neighbors to become part of a new protected area. And as this grows, this model, I believe, is critical and the only way we're going to grow the conservation footprint in Africa.
In a world where natural areas are either shrinking or experiencing growing developmental pressures, this Big 5 development, named after the original 5 chiefs who initiated it, is bucking the global trend, as it promises to not only dramatically expand the wildlife footprint of this region, but also unveil the extraordinary cultural and wildlife history within which it is situated.
This linking of the natural and the cultural attractions creates a unique situation which you have nowhere else in Africa. The cultural landscapes in Africa have disappeared, but here you have the birthplace of a nation and you have it together in a natural setup, which is absolutely unique.
While the Big 5 project has been initiated by these Zulu chiefs, it has swiftly gained the support of critical stakeholders, such as the regional conservation body Izimvelo Kzn Wildlife, one of whose senior conservators and manager of the Hluhluwe Umfolozi Park, Jabulani Inguban, spoke of his organization's thrill at the unfolding of what has long since been held as something of a dream.
What is unbelievable about this land is that it's rich in 3 dimensions: culturally, biodiversity, and then historical. I'm very, very excited about this big development. You know, when people say a dream come true, to me it's like that in conservation. When are we starting building lodges, fencing the land into conservation? So you know what it does that for me, automatically in terms of biodiversity, it increases the habitat black rhino, which is our target. So I've got a bigger target in terms of our black rhino conservation. But what it does, it's smoothing the relationship we have with the Makosi.
More significantly, the Big 5 project has been seen as a means to unlock and expand South Africa's tourism scope, wildlife and cultural. The opportunity to open critical wildlife migratory corridors has genuinely excited the South African government.
The Big 5 contributes significantly to the government's protected area expansion strategy, which offers corridors for your migratory animals like your wild dogs, elephants, rhino, that needs protection and needs the greater areas. So the expansion of Hluhluwe Umfolozi through this Big 5 project is one of the things that have really excited our government.
Buka le ndawo yethu esihlala kuyo ukuthi inhle kangakanani. Kade sihlala kuyona isikhathi eside. sihlala nazo ilwane lezi. Ngaleso sikhathi kunomlando le ndawo. uShaka wayehlala khona la. Bathi sifuna ukuthi manje siyisebenzise ukuthi isiza abantu bethu.
The origins of the entire project date back to 2010, when Nkosi Biela aired his dream with his friend Barry Tunison of making a game reserve out of a portion of his traditional landholdings. He saw South Africa's unique wildlife and ecotourism industry as the engine that would not only drive a greater conservation footprint, but more importantly, help create employment and income for his Biela community. This, and the belief that this land is only suitable for wildlife and tourism, has proven to be the overriding thrust of sustainability that characterizes the motivation for the Big Five.
It was my father's dream that one day he would like to have a conservation there. Our land is best for tourism and conservation. It will uplift the life of my people forever. I wish the Big Five to be well successful.
For his part, Barry Tunison speaks of the trust the chiefs and his family have forged over the years.
When we started with the Amakosi, the local chiefs, there had to be an element of trust. And we gained that trust. And that goes back in history. With my grandfather, they farmed in the vicinity, and my father. And there was a long dealing with our family and the chiefs. And that has gained the trust and enabled myself to implement their wishes of developing this environmental node that would employ their people and preserve the historic area and earn income from it with the tourism node.
Sifisa ukuthi nakwamanye amakhosi ingene ngoba inhloso ukuthi siqeda indlala. Lokhu kungumsebenzi wethu singamakhosi sonke. Sifuna imisebenzi, abantu bethu bathola umsebenzi okubalulekile. Ngamanye amagama sifuna the long term solution.
There's little doubt that the speed with which the Big Five is unfolding has had much to do with its growing support, both amongst other chiefs as well as government bodies who are now wanting to fund various components of the project, such as infrastructure and particularly the training of local people. For tourists, such infrastructure surrounding the Big Five Game Reserve is very much in place. The nearest airport, at Ulundi, has just had a 35 million rand upgrade and lies only 15 kilometers from the entrance to the Big Five. And new roads have been built too. The Big Five's entrance facilities are now being built, providing hundreds of local people with jobs as they erect fences, dig foundations and the like. The critical supply of water for both the two lodges has been secured, and in abundance. There can be no more historic region in Africa's entire conservation landscape than right here. Within its greater outreach, the Big Five will encompass the former hunting grounds of the Zulu nation's first king, King Shaka, who in the late 18th century earmarked this region for hunting, and in doing so, conserved this land for some 8 months of the year for the protection of the endemic game. It's an extraordinary coincidence that given this historic context, in 1894, Hluhluwe Mfolozi Park became the first game reserve to be proclaimed in Africa. The reason for this lies in the fact that this is the birthplace of the southern white rhino, a species once brought to the brink of extinction, when in the 19th century colonial hunters slaughtered them mercilessly. It's moving to think that every southern white rhino you have in the world today can trace its ancestry back to this very region in Zululand. And we can thank two of the world's greatest conservators, Dr. Ian Player and Maqhubu Ntombela, who amongst many others were formative in saving the species from being wiped out. In 1963, in what was called Operation Rhino, they captured, anaesthetized and reinstated the last remaining 50 rhinos found in southern Africa. For the benefit of humanity and to safeguard this prime rhino territory, Dr. Player pioneered the creation of Africa's first wilderness area, this being the 33,000 hectare area of the Umfolozi section of this Hluhluwe Umfolozi Park, and right on the doorstep of the Big Five. In dedication to all wilderness areas, Dr. Player also founded the Wilderness Leadership School. It is one of South Africa's most enduring natural legacies that some 52 years on remains one of the most popular wilderness trail operations both in South Africa and globally.
I've been working for 16 years in wilderness area. People, they don't understand how good is this, what the chief's doing to everybody who's allowed to come, international, South African tourists, everybody's allowed to come. I'm so excited of that.
Clearly, it's a unique opportunity for both Nottens and the Mantis collection.
Coming across this land, it's just phenomenal. It's just something that is so unique. With the river frontage, I mean, we've got about 7-8 kilometers of the White Umfolozi river frontage. I mean, not many places that I've been to have got this type of vegetation. It's a unique find. We can't wait just to get out there and show the international tourists or what the heart of Zululand has got to offer.
What really resonates with me regarding this project is that I will always remember my great friend Ian Player and what he said to me. He said the survival of wilderness and private reserves and government reserves, whatever they may be, is involvement of the community. Now, I really take my hat off to the people who have managed to achieve this, because this is a community involvement project. But then significantly for us to be selected together with our colleagues at Nottens, the first private people to be involved in a conservation effort such as this is something special in our heart. Mantis's whole philosophy is nurturing nature today for tomorrow and unearthing the exceptional. And we're unearthing something that's never been done before.
Unearthing the exceptional. These words illustrate something else, something particularly special that lies behind the ultimate rollout of the Big Five. Something that historians, academics, and conservationists alike have dreamed and motivated for ages. The establishment of South Africa's next World Heritage Site. For decades, it's appeared logical that Hluhluwe Umfolozi Park can be linked with the birthplace of the Zulu nation, at eMakhosini, the Valley of the Kings, on the outskirts of Ulundi. Now, with the onset of the Big Five, the dream is finally becoming a reality.
This Umfolozi Big Five Game Reserve is being developed in an area that is steeped in Zulu history and culture. And there's absolutely no reason why that down the line this could become a cultural World Heritage Site, which will have unbelievable spin-off for the region as a whole.
This Big Five development is arguably the most important project in conservation in Africa today.
As it stands today, is just one part in a bigger pot which we call the Greater Umfolozi Node. This includes your Opate game reserves. It includes your eMakhosini area. This is where your greater Zulu kings are buried. I tell you, that's your South African World Heritage Site right there.
A place of history, a place of culture, a place of vast untapped swathes of African wildlife expanse, on a scale that few could imagine opening up in the 21st century. The Umfolozi Big 5 Game Reserve development is certainly exceptional.
Wherever